whether one is even necessary at all, and what is the point of having the other. So I think most people, or many people, can relate to having perfectionistic tendencies. Either you have it yourself or you know someone who does. Now, I'm not always that way, but I do tend to be perfectionist on some things that are really important to me. But over the course of my life, I've learned to adjust my definition of perfection, which I don't think I need to define for anyone. I think we all know what perfection is, and it just depends on what level of perfection you're willing to attain. But I've learned to adjust my level of perfection because maybe perfection at the 99% or 100% point doesn't make sense all the time. Years ago, in almost what seems like another lifetime ago, I was in the Army's flight school. I was fortunate enough to have been selected out of my officer basic course. And that meant, and I was in the medical service corps. So it meant I was going to be a medevac helicopter pilot. I was really excited about that. I didn't know anything about flight school before I applied, and I learned some between the time I applied and when I got to Fort Rucker for flight school. But this one thing that I'm going to tell you about, I didn't know about until I got there. Graduation, at least back when I went through flight school, part of it was this great thing where everybody in the class was in helicopters, two in each helicopter for the most part, and were flying over the main parade field at Fort Rucker. It was called a flyover, a flyby. And there was a thunderous roar when these 30 or 40 helicopters came flying over the parade field, and I had the good fortune to experience that, and I was like, oh man, this is going to be so exciting. And I kept my eyes set and my sights set on doing that, on flying over that main parade field all through flight school. That was my dream, that I was gonna be in one of those helicopters. Well, the last 3 months of flight school is a section, at least back then, we have to caveat everything that they've changed a lot of things, and so if you're in flight school or you've experienced it recently, you may be experiencing something completely different. When I was in flight school, the last 3 months was a section called tactics, and we learned all kinds of things that I never thought would be really important to me as a medevac helicopter pilot, like calling in field artillery strikes. But I worked really hard to master it all because I didn't know what was going to be important in the future and what wouldn't. But one of the really key things that we learned during tactics was to navigate and to navigate at low levels. And I knew that was going to be really important to me as a medevac helicopter pilot, because one of the things that's different about medevac helicopters compared to the average aviation unit is that medevac helicopters tend to go out by themselves in a peacetime scenario anyway, tend to go out, and very often in other scenarios too, tend to go out by themselves, and very often they're flying low and fast. And you need to be a good navigator to get your helicopter there. And so my stick buddy, John, for the life of me, I can't remember his last name now. So, John, if you're happen to be on and listening and remember me, I apologize for that. Put your last name in the chat. That would be a good thing. Um, my stick buddy, John, and we worked really well together. He was a really low key person, which was good since everybody knows that I'm not prone to that. So we made a really good team and we worked really hard. And as we got closer and closer to that time when we were getting ready for the flyby, we were really excited about it, looking forward to it. And then the week before that time came, and they posted a board, said where everybody was going to be in their helicopters. And at first glance, John and I couldn't find our names on the board. We're like, what the heck? What happened here? How do we screw this up? What do we do? Well, it turned out we did so well in tactics and our navigation skills were so good that we were selected to lead our class into the parade field. We were going to be the number one aircraft in this formation. We hadn't thought to look there. Well, we're talking about it. We talked to our IP, our instructor pilot, and he burst our bubble in a way. You see, because we were number one and we were so good at navigating, our job to fly everybody in, to lead everybody in, meant that when we got near the parade field and had the rest of the helicopters all in formation behind us and ready to fly over, we weren't going to do that. We were going to do a climb and do a right-hand turn and depart. And you can see my emotions even get me now when I think about it, that I didn't get to fly over the parade field. But I got to do something more important. And that's where I learned to adjust my level of success. And sometimes in life, perfection isn't what we think ultimately what it is. And sometimes we have to adjust our picture of success. So I don't know if the rest of you who are on have had any experiences like mine, where you thought everything was going just right. And then at the very last minute, you had to adjust your picture of what perfection was, of what success was. If you have, put it in the chat and share it with us, and I'll look for those comments as I go along. But let's talk for a few minutes about what is more important, perfection or success? Do we need to have perfection to be successful? Or does perfection sometimes screw up success? I think it goes both ways. I think it depends on the situation. As a new mom, I struggled because I was used to having everything my own way, everything went right. And you know what? When you have children, it doesn't always work that way. And I had to learn that perfection wasn't always the right thing to strive for. We always talk about the 80% solution, or we often talk about the 80% solution. Well, sometimes the 50% solution is perfection. And because we've had to change what we picture as our success. And one of the things that I have noticed is that when I am working with transitioning service members, very often they are seeking perfection before they're willing to stick themselves out there. And I see this with other people too, but since I work with primarily work with transitioning veterans, I'm just going to throw them under the bus, mostly together, and that is that they're afraid to do things like network or to post on LinkedIn, to do an informational interview until they have everything all right. Well, let me tell you, life doesn't work that way. If you went to our YouTube channel and you saw, in some respects, I say go ahead and do it, and in other respects, I say heck no, don't do that. If you watch the very first recordings that I'm on doing these coaching and training sessions, you would see that how I am now is very different than how I was at the beginning. At the beginning, 5 years ago, I like to throw myself out there. And actually, you probably won't find the ones from 5 years ago because we didn't, I don't think we put the videos up. They might be there. I have to go and look. I should have looked before I suggested it. But I know that if I listen to the recordings, I'm an entirely different person now than I was there. And I threw myself out there and I've learned along the way. And if I hadn't, I wouldn't have ever gotten better because there are some things in life that you have to just do. You can't get better without doing them. For example, if you want to get better at telling stories, you have to say the stories. You can't just write them out. If you write the stories out and read them in your head, you're never going to find the words that you stumble over. So you have to put your posts out there on LinkedIn. You have to ask somebody for an informational interview and find out if the words that you use in your message to that person get them to join you to talk for a little bit. You have to go to networking opportunities in person and online and get comfortable interacting with people that you don't know and get out of that transactional mode because transaction in networking is a non-starter. I learned that the hard way many years ago. You need to go as if you are a river and you want to share what you know and who you know with the other people that are there. The good things about perfection is attention to detail. Ultimately, that's important and it can save your butt. There, you can save you time, it can save you money, it can save you being hurt, it can save your life or someone else's life. There's a lot of things that attention to detail is valuable about. And being committed to excellence, don't we always want excellence? When was the last time that you said to a friend, or even you said to yourself, hey, let me just go to an average restaurant? Don't you always want to go to a good restaurant? They have a commitment to excellence. So when we're committed to excellence, we want to provide that and we expect that from other people. When we're a perfectionist, we tend to continually improve, which means we keep learning. We're often thorough. We're persistent. That helmet behind me on the shelf, that shows my persistence. It took me 9 weeks to graduate from the Army's 3-week jump school. I never failed anything. I got hurt. I got sick. There were cycle breaks. And so what started out as 3 weeks turned into 9. But I showed up for training every day that I was allowed to be there and did everything that I was told to do. High personal standards are part of being a perfectionist. That's critical. I think we should all have high personal standards. If you can't have high personal standards, there are, I think you miss out on getting the best out of life. Reliable. People who are perfectionists tend to be reliable unless they let their fear get in the way. And then they don't become reliable. So if you're a perfectionist, please understand that your perfectionism can be a reflection, an overt symptom of your fear. And that is not a good thing. When I'm working with a perfectionist on a product, I know that the number of errors that I'm going to have to find when I go back through and look for things, they're going to be fewer than they're not, which is great because for someone like me who's really busy, that's a time saver. So working with someone who pays attention to detail and wants things to be right is really important. And having an internal drive to succeed is really important, I think. You know, I don't want to motivate. I don't want to have to motivate someone. I'm willing to inspire them, but I think that people should be motivated from within. John Maxwell, my friend and mentor, he tells a story of when he was in high school and he went for his first job. He and a friend went downtown to the grocery store. They had interviews set up with the manager. And both at the same time, that they were out front, told the whoever was at the front to please let the manager know that they were there. And the manager came back or came to the front of the store and invited them to the back of the store to his office to meet with him. And John's friend was right on the manager's heels, went right back there. And John, well, he back then, he was kind of a lackadaisical kind of guy. And he just kind of looked at things as he went through the store, went slowly. And it took him a few minutes to get back to the office. Which one of the two do you think got the job? Yeah, it was his friend. And that was a learning opportunity for John that day. You have to go after things. You need to inspire yourself. You need to show people that you're motivated. The people that you work for don't want to have to want to motivate you, to inspire you to show up. So, I talked about the positive things about perfection. There are some things about perfection that I think we need to talk about because they aren't realistic. You know, I'm not sure that perfection is really always possible. I'd like to think that it is, but I'm not sure that it's necessarily possible. Some people say looking for perfection is like looking for a unicorn. And in some situations, perfection is a waste of time. Like when you're raising children, perfection requires a lot of time and effort, and often more time and effort than the end result is worth. When our daughters were younger, my younger daughter was almost 2. My mother-in-law made them beautiful pink dresses, nearly matching pink dresses for Easter. And I was really excited. And we got them, my husband and I got them dressed for church first before us. And I told him as soon as they were dressed, I don't know why, but I told him we got to get pictures right now. And so we took them outside and got the pictures. And then we went back inside and the 2 girls were in our bedroom with us while we were getting dressed. And we had a beautiful red mahogany table, or I think it's cherry table, a little end table in our bedroom. And I had never paid attention to the fact that it was pretty wobbly. Well, Amanda, my youngest, our youngest, stood up and grabbed onto the edge of the table. And it tipped and caught her right in the eyebrow and gashed her skin. And blood was everywhere. We didn't go to church that morning. We made a trip to the emergency room, but we had the pictures and the pink dresses. And that morning turned into a different kind of morning for us. And so we hadn't had some idea of what a perfect Easter would look like. What it looked like was that Amanda had had only really minimal damage, even though there was massive amounts of blood. So perfection doesn't work with children. And so if you are a mom and you're a father and you're trying to get perfection from your children, there- please look somewhere else. On behalf of your children, I ask for you to please look elsewhere. Perfectionists often get less done. You know, if you're spending all your time trying to get something exactly right, you don't necessarily get more done. You just get what you did right. In my experience, besides fear, perfectionism is also, um, it shows up in procrastination. People use perfectionism as an excuse to procrastinate. And procrastination is another symptom of fear. Perfectionism can lead to frustration because it's taking so long. You beat yourself up for, why can't I get this right? Other people aren't necessarily as perfectionistic about things as you are. There are all kinds of things that perfection can cause to damage relationships and to damage your own self esteem, that it may already be damaged. And when we expect perfection from people, it leads to unreasonable expectations. And that's another damager to relationships. So there are lots of really good things about perfection. There are lots of really damaging things about perfection. I think it's important to understand all of that. And if you tend to have perfectionistic tendencies, I hope that you'll go back and listen to this and think about how this relates to you, because hearing it one time isn't going to be enough. I'm going to encourage you to re-listen to this. Now let's talk about success. We all want success, and success is valuable. Perfection can lead to success. We need sometimes a certain amount of perfection to get to success. But have you ever thought about the fact that success is generally all about us? About something that we've accomplished, a thing? And it just ends there. What I think is more important is significance. When we get beyond success and go to significance, then we're making a difference in other people. To me, the best part about success is that it changes who I am as I reach for it. It's not the achieving something that is important. It's who I become along the way and who you become along the way as you strive for success. What's lasting, though, because one day we'll be in the grave and our success and who we've become will be there with us. What's lasting is significance. And that's really what I want you to strive for. I want you to strive for significance, because significance is about other people. Significance is who you affect along the way and the positive things that happen for other people because you were in their life, either by yourself or as part of something. So perfection is valuable, while it does have some downsides. Success is valuable and important because we become the person we need to be along the way. Significance is lasting because other people can take what they've gained from us and moved forward. So thank you for being here with me today. If you have comments later, if you seeing this not live, I'd love to see them. And so I will go check where the videos are posted and make sure that I respond to your comments or questions. I want to share just for a minute about about changing focus, moving from we to me. I'm going to put a link up here that go to that link, and we'll get it into the comments of wherever this recording is posted, and make sure you have it. Changing focus, moving from we to me, is a transition program provided by LTI. It's free. It's virtual. It's designed for service members and military spouses who are 24 months out from leaving military service. We welcome reservists and National Guards personnel as well. You are very welcome to participate, and veterans of any era and with any kind of discharge. What we cover in Changing Focus is we fill the gaps that are left by the Department of Defense mandated transition program. We talk about your individual purpose, help you articulate that and put it down on paper. We help you articulate and put down on paper a vision for the next 3 to 5 years of your life to help you get started moving forward. And just having that on paper isn't enough. We help you get started on a plan to move that forward. We spend a whole day talking about that. We talk about the neuroscience of change and why that's important in your life. You'll learn about the dollars and cents of transition because there is a financial component that you have to get smart on if you're going through the transition program or process rather. And if you're a participant in Changing Focus, moving from we to me, and you've already left active duty, you don't need to sit through that. We talk about outward mindset because that's a really important thing to learn as you go forward into the civilian sector, or if you're in the civilian sector. Talk about communication because it's important to learn how people perceive you when you communicate. And we teach you how to recognize all of that in other people so you can connect and communicate with them better. And last but not least, we talk about living an intentional life, living purposefully, so that you don't get to the end of your life and say, wow, how'd I get here? So we do all that at Changing Focus. You can find out more information, get a detailed agenda at that link. I'm going to pull it down now. If you have any questions, feel free to message me or message any member of our team, or put them in the comments of the chat of this video. We provide it all for free. As I said, it's virtual, so you can be anywhere in the world to participate, and we look forward to serving you as we go forward. Forward to serving you as you go forward. See, perfection is overrated. So thank you for spending this time with me. I look forward to seeing you in November, and we'll talk about some healthy living tips as we go through the holiday season. Thanks again, and see you again in another month.